Hey everyone, today we're going to be sculpting the face. So as I put on some moisturizer, we'll talk through what we're going to do. The purpose here is to really, not just with me as demonstrating it, but for you, is to create the most beautiful version of yourself. Makeup can be a really complicated process. When you look at it from a makeup artist point of view or from a mathematical point of view, there are so many different areas on the face that need different treatments to correct the areas and bring out your most beautiful self. I'm going to keep it very simple today. We're going to be using two different shades of foundation, two different shades of powder. One that matches my skin tone pretty accurately. That will generally going to be used on the interior portion of the face. So this kind of V section. The deeper shade, one shade deeper, will be used on the perimeter, mostly, because even with that inverted lightness, there's still areas that need to be shaded. So I'm going to start with NW25, and I'm going to use this around this interior portion of the face. And I'm just going to use a beauty blender, and I'm just going to dot it on quickly just to the areas that I think would look better if they were a bit lighter, which is pretty much here. And now I'm just going to leave it like that just for the time being. I'm just going to turn the beauty blender around. Now I'm going to concentrate with NW30, so it's just a shade darker, and I'm going to just press that a little bit to begin with on the outer edges of the face. I'm going to deal with the nose in a second. So let's just blend in some of these lighter areas to begin with. So we're just going to blend them out. I'm not blending the sides of the nose because I'm going to use a deeper color here. So this is the areas where, generally speaking, look the most beautiful when they're lighter, because you tend to look into the center of somebody's face, not the perimeter. So all we're doing here is creating a little bit more dimension. I'm using MAC Full Coverage Foundation. It's a really good one. So now I'm just going to take that deeper shade, and I'm just going to blend this now around the outside perimeters of the face. Now, you may think, well, it's peculiar that I didn't use a lighter concealer here, but this area on me wouldn't really be that flattering if I used a lighter concealer, because there's problem areas there with a lack of fat and bags under the eyes and those kind of things. So it doesn't make sense to highlight those too much. Now, while I'm blending this, I'll tell you a little story that happened today. I had to go and see a dermatologist, and mistakenly I looked up and said, what would you do to me if you could do anything? And they said, well, what you really need is your eyes sorting out. And then he then went on and explained to me how, as I've got older, I'm hollowing out underneath the eyes, and I need to have fillers put there to smooth it back out, make it look more youthful. Now, of course, he is absolutely right. That is true. I am definitely hollowing out. But it was quite a depressing conversation, I'm not going to lie to you. Very, very bleak. So, you'll notice that right now, there is nothing going on the face that is overly dramatic. You couldn't really tell that much that I used two different color foundations, and that is what you want. I'm just going to cover the ears so that they're not irritating either. And because my ears are quite red, I'm using the darker shade of foundation and not the lighter one, because the lighter one will require more coverage and it could just make them glow a little bit more. So now I'm just going to deal with a little bit of shading down the sides of the nose. Now I'm just going to use my finger for this, and I'm just going to pat and press the darker shade, the NW30, just down the sides of the nose, and I'm going to blend those as well. And to make sure it's all blended as best I can, I'm just going to take the flat side and just kind of bounce around the edges so that they're kind of bleeding into each other. So now that we've got some form of base makeup on, what I want to do is just take that lighter shade and add this, so the shade that is my foundation color with the NW25, and I just want to apply this to the inner portion of the eye because I need some brightness there. I'm just going to pat and press that, and obviously this area doesn't move. So it's great for those of you with under eye darkness in this corner and you have issues with skin movement. This is a really good area, and it brightens up the face like nothing else. So it's great. Now we're going to come to the setting part. I want to use two powders, a lighter one for the interior and a deeper one for the exterior. So I'm going to start with the lighter foundation. I'm going to use Charlotte Tilbury, and I'm going to be using shade 1. And I'm going to take my number 2 brush, and I'm going to buff this into the center portion of the face. So where that lighter foundation is, that's where I'm going to place it, down the bridge of the nose. I'll deal with those areas a little bit more in a minute. Then I'm going to take the shade 2 and I'm going to buff those around the outside perimeter where that slightly deeper foundation was. And again, because they're not massively different, we're just creating a really nice bit of very light sculpting going on that people are unaware of, which is what you want. I'm going to take a smaller brush, and I'm going to now use the lighter foundation, a lighter powder, I'm sorry, and I'm just going to go into the inner corners, and I'm just going to go right down the bridge of the nose, and then with the deeper color, so shade number 2, I'm now going to go down the sides of the nose to help shade this area a little bit more, so that you've got all of those different color powders and foundations going on. But realistically, you can't really see it on the face because what we're doing is so subtle that it isn't going to scream out any issues. Now, what I'm going to do is just take that slightly deeper powder, and I'm just going to blend this onto the neck area because I haven't done anything to the neck yet, and it's a little bit lighter, and this powder will just transition the two in slightly more. So I want to add a bit of color to the face as well. So I'm going to take my blusher and just add a nice bit of color to the skin. Now we could contour with bronzer a little bit more and bronze things up, but I'm bronze enough already for me. So I'm just going to take this and just cup it onto the cheekbone area. And I want the brush to kind of splay out because I don't want it to be too hard a line, and I just want to add a bit of color here, just a small amount, and then I'm just going to take that brush with nothing on, just buff over it, and then see if I need any more color. So just a sprinkle perhaps. Nice and high, nice and high, and then just blend that in so that you don't really see the edges of the blush. So I need to just fill in any gaps in the brows because there's spaces, and what we're trying to do here is sculpt the face. So we need to deal with the brows, and we need to add darkness to the lashes as well to complete this kind of whole sculpting process. Okay, so all I'm going to do is just add a wash of shimmer around this outside portion. So nothing too extreme, I hope, but just here. Actually, I want to point this out. I'll zoom in. Where I've just highlighted, that isn't a good point for me to highlight because I've got visible veins there, and that can make them stick out. So you want to avoid areas that you don't want to draw attention to. But I just want to add a subtle wash of shimmer, and then I'll just blend that in again. So I've got these visible veins, and it's not a good idea for me to highlight those because I wouldn't necessarily want them to stand out too much. And there you go. All you've done is very subtle things. No one's going to know, but there is shading going around the outside perimeter. The inside is light. We've got shading done on the nose, but it's subtle. No one's going to go, you've been contouring. But the face has been given dimension, and now we're ready to take it wherever we want to go. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate your time, and I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.